So imagine this, you're in Monza, home of Ferrari, a place where wearing red is practically a religion, and cheering for anything else, that's usually blasphemy. But this time something flipped. The man they usually boo, the guy who's made a career out of breaking Ferrari hearts, walked onto the podium and got a standing ovation. Max Verstappen cheered in Italy. That sound wasn't just applause, it was something deeper, like a question being asked out loud. What if he wore red? And look, this isn't just some fantasy cooked up by the press. Since Ferrari landed Lewis Hamilton for 2025, the idea of attracting another superstar isn't ridiculous anymore. It's very real. If you can convince a 7-time world champion to switch camps, you're not chasing dreams, you're running a full-on recruitment operation. And for Verstappen, he's not just another champion. He's the guy winning races in cruise control while the rest of the grid argues about tire strategy. He doesn't just dominate, he embarrasses people. That's the kind of energy Ferrari hasn't had since Schumacher. Let's rewind to Monza weekend. Everyone thought it was McLaren's race. Ferrari had their hopes pinned on home support, but then Verstappen stepped in and murdered the script. Lando Norris took pole, there was a bit of drama off the line, and then Max vanished 19 seconds up the road by the checkered flag. That win didn't just give Red Bull their 3rd of the year, it sent a message. Whatever doubts were floating around after a chaotic offseason, Verstappen is still the gold standard. And under new technical chief Lawrence Mekies, Red Bull looks refreshed, like a team with a second wind. But here's where it gets spicy. Behind the scenes, there's movement. Verstappen's people have talked, not just with Ferrari. Mercedes had a go. Aston Martin made some calls. His father, Jos Verstappen, even admitted that there were Ferrari conversations after Hamilton's deal. These aren't commitments, but they're not random either. You don't check the temperature unless you're thinking about the room. And with the massive 2026 regulation reset coming, every driver is asking the same thing. Who's going to nail the new rules first? That reset changes everything. It's not just about who has the fastest car now, it's about who will have it in 2026, when all the power units and aerodynamics get thrown into a blender. And Max, he's watching closely. He's not dumb. He knows loyalty doesn't win championships, performance does. He's got a contract through 2026, yes, but if Red Bull stumbles and someone else builds a rocket ship, why would he stay out of sentiment? Here's where the tifosi matter. They didn't just clap politely at Monza, they sang. Max Verstappen's name echoed around the temple of Ferrari. That stuff doesn't happen by accident. It was a vibe, a public declaration. We'd forgive you, come drive for us. And while Max isn't the kind of guy to be swayed by cheers, he's cold-blooded when it comes to decisions, he's still human. You don't base a career move on applause, sure, but it does stir something. Maybe not a decision, but curiosity? Definitely. Now let's talk reality. Max's deal with Red Bull is ironclad, but contracts in F1 always have trapdoors. Rumors suggest there's a performance clause, one that might allow him to leave if Red Bull drops out of title contention. Right now, he's not even close to using it. He was sitting 3rd at the summer break. But the real test comes in 2026. If Red Bull nails that new era, Max likely stays. If they flop, all bets are off. And that's just one side of the chessboard. The other piece is Ferrari's driver lineup, and that's a whole other puzzle. Ferrari's current driver lineup looks untouchable on paper. Charles Leclerc is the golden child of Maranello, loyal, blisteringly fast, fluent in the politics, and adored by the team. And then there's Lewis Hamilton, the blockbuster addition, five-time champion, global icon, and the man Ferrari believes can bring back the magic. But F1 isn't a fairy tale. It's a results game, and Hamilton's early months in red haven't been dreamy. So far, it's been rough. One sprint win in China is all he's got to show for it. No Grand Prix podiums. Meanwhile, Leclerc has been dragging that same car into contention, while Hamilton is still adjusting. New team, new systems, new people. Leclerc already knows every engineer's middle name. He's in tune with the car in a way Hamilton simply isn't yet. It's not a knock on Lewis, but time matters. And patience wears thin fast when you're racing in red. If Hamilton figures it out and the partnership clicks, great. Ferrari's got a powerhouse duo. But if things stay rocky, if the results don't come, or if the fit never quite works, then the conversation shifts. Because if Verstappen is available in 2027, Ferrari will absolutely consider a change, no matter how good their current lineup looks on a poster. Let's be real, teams make room for Max. He's not just another quick driver, he's a system-defining force. You don't add him to a team, you build the team around him. That's what Red Bull did, and that's what Ferrari would have to be willing to do. Which brings us to the politics. Could Verstappen and Leclerc actually work in the same garage? It's a stretch. Both are used to top billing. Both are sharp, ambitious, and not afraid to speak up when things go sideways. Ferrari would need to ask itself a brutal question. If Max becomes available, do you roll the dice on a potentially unstable superstar pairing, or do you stay safe and miss the chance to land the most dominant driver of the generation? Because make no mistake, if Verstappen wants in and there's a seat available, the pressure to make it happen will be overwhelming. But all of this hinges on 2026. This season is the big shakeup. Every team's current advantage can evaporate overnight. Ferrari could build a beast, Red Bull could get lost, Mercedes could finally bounce back, and that's why Verstappen isn't rushing. He's playing the long game. He wants to see the new regulations in action. Not on a simulator, not in wind tunnel projections, on track, in real conditions, in battle. If Red Bull delivers again, great, he stays. If not, that's when he starts looking seriously. And Ferrari knows this. That's why they're already laying the groundwork. Conversations are happening, casual ones, sure, but strategic. No team waits until a contract expires to make a move in this sport. Everything is preloaded. The race starts in the boardroom before it hits the tarmac. The public reception in Monza may have caught people off guard, but inside the paddock, no one's laughing off the idea of Max and Red anymore. It's not tabloid gossip, it's a scenario with conditions, plausible ones, the kind that keep team principals up at night. Verstappen's loyalty to Red Bull has always been performance-based. He's not there because of nostalgia, he's there because the car wins. If that stops being true, he'll look elsewhere, and when he does, Ferrari will be standing there, ready, assuming they've built something worth jumping to. Because for Max, it's never about the badge, it's always about the titles. Red Bull knows exactly what's at stake. They've had a front row seat to Verstappen's evolution, from teenage prodigy to one of the most complete drivers the sport has ever seen. And they understand the deal, keep delivering or watch him walk. That's why the focus at Milton Keynes is laser sharp. It's not just about winning races this year, it's about proving that when the 2026 reset hits, they'll still be on top. Lawrence Mekies has quietly brought order to a team that was teetering on internal chaos earlier this season. The early part of the year was shaky. Political noise, tech uncertainties, and rumors swirling around the garage. But since Mekies stepped into the technical leadership role, things have started clicking again. Monza wasn't just a dominant win, it was a statement. The car's pace was surgical. Verstappen didn't just beat Ferrari and McLaren, he dismantled them. And he did it in front of the most passionate crowd in the sport. That kind of performance doesn't go unnoticed. It's the kind of win that resets the narrative. But consistency is what Max is watching for. He doesn't care about one-offs. He's looking for a power unit that survives the 2026 reboot without turning into a liability. He wants assurance that Red Bull can transition smoothly into the next era of F1. Because if they stumble even slightly, he'll have every justification to explore new territory. That's the game right now. It's not drama. It's leverage. Every team is preparing their pitch. Aston Martin is lurking, hoping their growing infrastructure and Mercedes support pay off. Mercedes themselves haven't given up on trying to land him, though their recent struggles make that a harder sell. But Ferrari, they have a few things going for them: pedigree, emotion, global pool, and now a recent history of bold moves. Still, Verstappen doesn't do emotion. He's not like Hamilton, who speaks about legacy, symbolism, and the weight of a team's history. Max is pure execution. He doesn't care how iconic the overalls are. If the car's slow through turn 11, he's not signing anything, which is why Ferrari has work to do. They've got to prove that their 2026 package isn't just competitive, it's dominant. No title-chasing driver is going to leave a winning team unless he's stepping into an even stronger one. Ferrari's other job, managing internal harmony. If they want Verstappen, they've got to show they can handle him and Leclerc without tearing the place apart. That's a tricky balance. Both drivers expect to lead. Both are used to being the focal point. And F1 history is full of dream pairings that turned into nightmare civil wars. For a Verstappen move to even be viable, the team has to believe the chemistry won't explode by round 4. Then there's the wild card, Verstappen himself. He's never promised a long career. He's hinted more than once that he could walk away from F1 before the usual retirement age. He's obsessed with sim racing, he's talked about endurance driving, and the ever-expanding calendar is starting to wear on him. If he decides that the stress, the politics, the constant scrutiny is no longer worth it, he might leave entirely. Not for another team, for another life. That's what makes this next phase so unpredictable. 2026 will be the proving ground. Ferrari's challenge is to keep both their stars performing and build a car that turns admiration into titles. Red Bull's challenge is to stay irresistible, on track, behind the scenes, and in the long-term vision. Because once the numbers start favoring someone else, even the most dominant reigns come to an end. And Max? He's just watching, waiting, measuring every move. Because when you control the map, you don't chase opportunity, you make it follow you.